Well, welcome back to the Silicon Dojo question and answer videos. The first thing is I have to ask you a question. How's Boogie2988 doing? Is he still there? Is he still alive? Is he still doing okay? Does he have a girlfriend? How's his little dog doing? I just don't know. I'm still going through my YouTube withdrawals. So I woke up Monday and decided I was gonna be done with YouTube or watching YouTube videos for the foreseeable future, and I was gonna be done with keeping up to date with everything going on in the news. And oh, I have to say, it's an addiction. It really is an addiction. Again, remember, the main thing to understand about addictions is it's not what other people think about you. It's not if other people think you're doing something too much. It's if you think that you're doing something too much, to the point that it's negative in your life. And then even when you try to stop, oh, you find it so hard. It's so hard. I just need a little dose of nerd erotic right now. I need to know what's going on with Supergirl. Apparently there is something going on with Supergirl. I don't know what it is. Again, to be clear, I don't really care about Supergirl. To be clear, I do have superhero fatigue. I'm tired of the whole thing. But oh, I'm just fiending. I'm just fiending for a dose of like Supergirl drama. Just need to mainline that stuff straight from Nerd Erotic. Oh well. Anyways. It'll be okay. It'll be okay. They say if you can get through the first week of addiction, if you can go cold turkey for a week, then after that it gets a hell of a lot easier. We'll see how it is. But again, I'm just saying this because it's true. It's true. This is an addiction. It really is like, it's really funny. It's really funny because again, I'm not like a smoker. I'm not like a drug user or anything like that. I really don't have a huge, amount of like addictive personality. And so it's really interesting, again, with the whole social media and the news cycle thing, just to realize, again, I know that it's bad for me. I know I feel dirty when I consume it. And yet, oh, just like a little, come on, just a little critical drinker. Come on, just a little shot of the critical drinker. It'll be okay. Like, no, it won't. So anyways, I was very happy yesterday. It's kind of funny yesterday because my wife came into my little home office and she asked me, she's like, Eli, what happened in North Carolina today? And I looked at her and said, I don't know, what do you mean? And she has like an instructor, she does online instruction with somebody, and her instructor basically texted her and said, I hope you're doing okay with things going on in North Carolina. And I looked at her and I said, I have no idea what's going on in North Carolina. I can't see anything. I don't hear anything going on here in Asheville. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't know, dear. If you want to go and you want to dive into the news, that is your business. Me, I'm just going to sit here and read a book and do something else. So anyways, it's an addiction. Again, I'll just keep talking about this because again, I'm a 40-some-year-old guy. Again, I'm not somebody that likes dope. Tried marijuana in the past. Not a great fan of it. Like, I don't really care. Yeah, never really wanted to get into the whole drug thing. And so it's just interesting, like going through. It's like, oh, yeah, it's hard to get off the social media. They've come up with an amazing drug. They've come up with a completely 100% legal drug that doesn't kill you. It just completely and utterly destroys your life and society. It doesn't kill people. It just kills civilizations. Anyways, I wonder how we're going to deal with this. I'll be curious to see how the next decade goes with this mess. Anywho, that's not why we're here. I just figured I'd talk about this just a tiny bit, just so you realize that it is real. Again, the point of these question and answer videos is people leave me questions down in the comment section. So if you have a question, put it down in the comment section, and then I answer them. in these videos. I basically do this every day, and so if you put a question down there, it's pretty likely that I will answer your question at some point. So this question says, hey Eli, how will you measure the success or failure of Silicon Dojo a year from now? Also, does it concern you that how to be a YouTuber had the highest interest as opposed to the more technical stuff? So I think this is an interesting question just to be thinking about in general. What are your metrics for success or failure for your business? When you're going out there and you're going to try to do whatever it is that you're going to try to do, how are you going to determine whether you're being successful doing whatever it is or whether you should give up? Again, I would argue that winners give up. Winners give up, right? When you fail, especially in business, if you actually fail in business, it generally means you've gone bankrupt. You've burned through all of your resources, you've burned through your relationships and a whole bunch of other things, and basically you're at the end of it and with nothing left in a business that just doesn't function, right? So I argue it's far better to give up. It's far better to realize that you're not hitting the metrics that you wanted to hit and basically wrap everything up before you run out of all your money, before you piss everybody else off, so that you can basically start again. You can either pivot or you can go and get a job like most people actually should. And so I think it's important to be sitting there and be thinking about, like, what are the particular metrics for your business and what you would be satisfied with. Again, when you start thinking about things like metrics, I would think them on the broadest of measures and not on being very specific. And I think about this like with Silicon Dojo. So one of the metrics for whether or not Silicon Dojo will be successful in a year, I'm actually looking at 2 years, but a year or two, is frankly whether it pays me an amount of money, I'm getting money in my banking account that is viable for what I want. Again, if I'm sitting here and I'm looking at all the possible things that I can do and I know about how much money I can make on the open market, the question is this business going to be bringing in enough money that I feel that it makes it financially viable? Now, why I say that in a very specific way is one of the things is I do not understand how I will be making my money at the end of the day. Again, especially with something like Silicon Dojo, there's a lot of different ways that I could be making money. Again, there's crowdfunding, could be making money. There's selling advertisements that could be making money. Silicon Dojo itself could lose money, but if I come up with a good idea, I come up with a good concept, people may pay me to go and do speaking tours and do other things. Again, I've been offered a lot of money in the past, like a shocking amount of money for a day or two's worth of work, simply to come out and do speeches and that type of thing. And so one of the things that I'm looking at is I need to be able to make enough money that I feel that I am financially viable in doing this project. The important thing to understand, though, is I'm rather open-minded in the idea of how I may end up making that money at the end of the day. That's one of the reasons that I want to keep the cost of Silicon Dojo as minimal as possible. Even I don't know, I'm in the middle of trying to get to a bigger space. I'm not going to get into it. Anyways, I'm trying to get to a bigger space. I'm not really sure what's happening there. Going back and forth, business. Anyway, the thing is, even going to that bigger space, so I'm in this space right now, so this is slightly less than 300 square feet. The new space that we're going to is about 800 square feet. Going to that new space, it's big enough that I can actually feel like I can do classes in there, I can do workshops in there, I can have open labs and the whole 9 yards. But one of the things with going to that space is it's still inexpensive enough that I can essentially keep it going infinitum, right? And so one of the things to be thinking about, like with something like Silicon Dojo, is where can the value come from? Even if the educational component doesn't bring me money, even if the crowdfunding doesn't bring me money, even if the advertisement doesn't bring me money, even if people don't ask me to be a speaker or something else to bring me money, one of the things to be thinking about is if at Silicon Dojo I'm doing classes on Azure Cognitive Services, which I'm actually really excited about. Go research Azure's Cognitive Services. But if I'm doing classes on Azure's Cognitive Services, if I'm doing classes on Twilio, if I'm doing classes on these modern APIs and these modern ways of building out systems, one of the things to realize is all the money that it costs to keep Silicon Dojo going, I may be able to recoup that in 1 day of billable work. I may be able to recoup that in a couple of hours of billable work, depending on what the project actually is. And so Silicon Dojo might actually become viable for me. Again, even if the entire theoretical business model itself doesn't work out. And so basically what I'm looking for in 2 years, again, for me at this point in my life, I'm looking at this for 2 years. I'm looking for something that I'm going to be fulfilled with. Again, a lot of people talk about passion. Passion is a buzzword. Passion is a word that slavers use to keep their slaves picking cotton. That probably sounds really horrible in the modern world. It's also really true in the modern world, right? You'll notice this is one of those things, like you hear about passion, and a lot of times when people talk about passion, they also talk about things like the beer taps in the startup offices, right? If you have a CEO talking about passion and they have a beer tap in the office, run the hell away. Basically what this means is you're never supposed to go home. Basically, you are supposed to be so excited to do whatever work it is that they want you to do so they can make their billions of dollars that you essentially never go home. Your purpose in the world is literally to make them billions of dollars. And I just think that that's a bad way to go. Again, it really is important, right? You know, when they have arcade games at your company, when they have beer taps at your company, when they're giving you dinner at your company, they don't want you going home. Don't get me wrong, I like my beer. I'm in Asheville, I like my beer. Tonight I'm going to a geek happy hour, and I will drink my beer and I will talk with geeks, right? Don't get me wrong, right? You can have a company right here, and then at 5 or 6 o'clock at night, your entire department can walk out of the company and go to the bar down the street where you can drink alcohol and talk about whatever you want to drink, or whatever you want to talk about, and that's completely okay. But understand, when a company doesn't even want you to leave to go have dinner, when a company doesn't even want you to leave to go get drunk, which has so many liability concerns along with it, basically what that means is you are supposed to live at that job. And that's a whole bunch of crap. That's a whole bunch of crap. That is the kind of garbage 22-year-olds think is cool, which says a lot about the modern world that's being created by Silicon Valley. But anyways, one of the things that I'm looking at with Silicon Dojo is simply being fulfilled. Again, what a lot of young folks don't realize is you've probably got a lot of years in your life. And one of the things a lot of folks don't think about is, 24 hours in a day is actually a lot of hours. It's kind of funny. I'm one of those people that's like traveled the world and all that. So I've been away from all of my gewgaws, right? So when you don't have a computer and you don't have Netflix and you don't have access to books and you don't have all of these things that burn time, one of the interesting things is when you're sitting in Thailand or India or Costa Rica or wherever else, and it's dawn, and you basically have to take up time all the way until you go to bed at night. That's a lot of hours. That's a lot of hours. When you are not drugged out on Netflix or YouTube or Facebook, it's amazing how many hours are actually in a day. And so one of the things you realize as you get older is that you're gonna work regardless, right? I mean, the idea that you're just gonna wake up in the morning and then you're gonna go to the beach and then you're gonna party all day and all night, I mean, that's only cool for a couple of days. But again, one of the things my wife and I have realized, since I've always had a weird work life ever since we've been together, is I can do the whole beach bum thing for about 14 days. For about 2 weeks, I can go to a beach and I can swim and I can drink alcohol and I can splash around in the water and it's all pretty good. I hit day 15, I become a colossal asshole. If I don't have something to build, if I don't have something to create, if I don't have something to actually do, day 15, I just become a colossal jackass. Everybody would be happier if I go to build something, right? It's better for me, it's better for everyone around me, and so on and so forth. And so on, that's one of the things that you realize as you get older. When you're young, you have this idiotic idea about retiring young, right? How many kids, again, how many 22-year-olds, I think the beer tap is really cool at the startup company, have these dreams of retiring young? Here's the question. Then what, bucko? then what? You retire at 30 or you retire at 40 or whatever else. What do you think you're gonna do the day after? Not necessarily the day after, but the month after, the year after, the years after, right? You gotta have something to take up your time, and that's where I would argue work is actually a valuable thing in this modern American world. Work has been turned into a four-letter word, which is actually a shame. Work can be a very good thing for you and everybody around you. Again, if you go into it with the right mentality. So one of the things that I'm looking at with Silicon Dojo is basically to be fulfilled. Again, not passionate. Again, 22-year-olds talk about passion. I'm not 22 anymore. I just want to be fulfilled. I want to wake up in the morning and be with my wife and my dog and putter around the house or whatever else. And whatever time I want to go down to the Silicon Dojo facility, I want to open it up, I want to work on Azure Cognitive Services or whatever the hell else it is that I'm playing with that day. I want people to be able to come into the lab environment. I want to show them how to be able to do whatever it is that they want to do. I want them to play. I want to play BS about whatever. And basically, at the end of the day, I want to feel like, okay, I woke up this morning, I went to work, I learned about this particular product and why it is or isn't cool. I help these people actually learn how to deploy or do whatever without these other products. I feel fulfilled. I feel like my day was worthwhile. I then want to, from that fulfilled feeling, I then want to look at my bank account and go, oh, look, and I made a couple of extra dollars today, and then I want to go home and be with my wife and my dog, and, you know, watch some Netflix drugs before we go to bed at night. That is basically what I'm looking for out of Silicon Dojo is the financial component and the fulfillment again. And what that financial component is, again, I don't really talk about money anymore. I found in the YouTube world when you talk about money, it always goes badly. Now, if you talk about a lot of money, then people give you crap because you're greedy. If you don't talk about very much money, then everybody says you don't have any money because you suck and you don't know what the hell you're doing. Like money, talking about money in the YouTube world is a stupid thing I have found in over a decade of doing this, so I don't talk about the specific numbers anymore. But basically, that's what I'm looking for. And again, that's what you have to think about with your business is what do your numbers have to look like? Again, here in Asheville, North Carolina, sadly, truly sadly, housing prices have gone idiotic at this point. And so what you need to live in Asheville is going to be different than other places. But, you know, things to be thinking about. You know, if you're creating a business in San Francisco, your bottom line numbers are going to have to be literally exponentially higher than if you're doing a business in, let's say, Pittsburgh. Right? If you go to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, between $50,000 to $100,000, you can actually buy a house, a decent enough house. Maybe you need some sweat equity. Yes, you need to paint it. Yes, you need to do a little work on it. But you can literally buy a house for under $100,000 in Pittsburgh. So the financial numbers that you have to hit in Pittsburgh are going to be entirely different than San Francisco or Seattle or at this point Asheville. I'm actually disappointed with what's happening with real estate in Asheville. Just to be clear, for anybody that's actually in the Asheville area, I do not feel good about the real estate prices here. They've gone quite idiotic. But that's one of the things that you have to look at. Again, like if you are going to be doing a business in Baltimore City, a lot of folks that live in Baltimore City that do like Baltimore City, the school system is a joke. It's horrible. And so they feel that they have to send their kids to private schools. So again, even though in Baltimore City, the cost of housing may be low, depending on where you are, may be low, if you also feel that you have to send your kids to private school, that's going to mean you have to make more money. Again, you got a couple of kids, you got a few kids, they all got to go to private school. All of a sudden, the amount of money that you have to make goes up significantly. Again, whether you are single, whether you're married, you know, what other resources you have available, you have to think, you know, ask yourself what makes the business financially viable for you. and go from there, and then just figure out what that number actually is. And then also think about, how much money you can make in the open market. If you actually went out there and got a job, if you went out there and just did normal contracting work, how much money could you earn doing that? How much money are you earning after a year or two doing what it is that you're doing? And then you have to be thinking about, does this make sense for you? The other thing to be thinking about, especially if you're young, again, when you're 22, 23, 24, you're like, Eli, I'm not greedy like you. See, that's the problem with people like Eli. They just get old and they just get greedy. See, I'm better. I'm not greedy like Eli. So I don't need to make golly knows how much money. One of the things you do have to think about, again, if you're young and you're single, well, you are young and you are single. The living circumstances for a young single person is different as you get older. Again, I lived in the college ghetto up in the U District in Seattle 20 odd years ago at this point, right? There were 15 of us shoved into one house in the U District. I did that. I wanted experience. I wanted to hop in my car and see the country. And so I was willing to live in a house with 15 other people in the U District of Seattle. Yeah, I don't want to do that anymore. And so again, one of the things you have to be thinking about with the financial viability of your company or whatever it is that you're doing is will it grow with you? You might be okay with $20,000 a year or $30,000 a year now, but how are you going to feel in 5 years, in 10 years? 10 years down the pike, if you're still making $20,000 a year, that can be a bit painful, especially again when you think about getting married. You think about getting married, you think about actually having to pay for health insurance. Health insurance is brutal. I know what my wife and I pay for health insurance. We pay a ridiculous amount for health insurance, plus here in North Carolina, we each have a $6,000 deductible on top of the idiotic amount that we have to pay for health insurance. It's not like we're paying $100 a month for health insurance and we have a $6,000 deductible. Oh, hells no. We pay a lot for health insurance, and then we have a $6,000 deductible for each of us on top of that. So one of the things to be thinking about from a financial standpoint is, what happens if you get sick? What happens if your spouse gets sick? What happens if you have a kid and things don't go right and they pop out sick, right? It's very, like, the problem that I have with so many of these young people so many times is they're so self-righteous without having the experience to show them why they might want to be a little bit more cautious. Again, if you have a kid that comes out with Down syndrome, if you have a kid that comes out with any of the number of problems that can possibly happen, all of a sudden, especially in the U.S. society, the amount of money that you have really, really, really matters. Again, I talked about this with my wife. Again, thankfully, we were in a decent financial position when she had her cancers, but she had 2 cancers back to back. She had thyroid cancer, and then she had breast cancer within a two-year period, basically. Even though, thankfully, at that point, she had really good health insurance, just actually by a quirk. It's one of those really weird quirks in life where we had been meaning to get her some worse health insurance, but we hadn't gotten around to it, so she still actually had very wonderful health insurance. But even with that, with 2 cancers back to back, it ended up being $30,000 out of our pocket, plus all of the hoopla that went along with it. And that was a real, lesson for me about the real world, especially about how American society works as far as money goes. And so these are the types of things that you need to be thinking about with your business. And when you're saying whether or not it's financially valuable, one of the questions you have to ask yourself is, okay, what happens if you meet somebody that you want to get married to? What happens if you get sick? What happens if you just want to take a vacation every once in a while? Again, tell millennials you think taking a 2-week vacation is something that everybody should do, and they just lose their minds half the time, right? But you need enough money to make sure that you can do that. The other thing that you need to be thinking about is, if you want to create a business, are you able to grow it to an extent where you'll be able to hire employees down the way? Louis Rossmann, the guy who owns that Apple repair place up in New York City, he was just able to travel down to Florida for a week or 2. He took the car down to Florida, looking to relocate down to Florida because he doesn't like the regulations up in New York City. One of the reasons he was able to do that is his company is bringing enough money that he's able to hire employees employees, and the employees were able to deal with his shop while he was gone looking for a place to move everybody to, right? And so these are some of the things you need to think about when you're thinking about the money and you're thinking about the actual, you know, financial situation of the business and what you're creating. Is it enough to pay you now? Is it enough to pay you into the future? Do you feel confident that it will continue to grow? And whether or not you take the opportunity to monetize everything now, could you monetize it if you actually needed to, again, if you needed the money? So one of those things to be thinking about. Again, with Silicon Dojo, it gets a little weird. Like, the problem is, again, just so you folks understand, is I am trying to be a little bit more opaque with Silicon Dojo. Not because I'm trying to be nefarious or I really give a crap in some ways, what you folks know. Again, I always show you the poop I have every morning. I'm Aspie. I think honesty is the easiest way to go. What I've realized is I'm wrong. If you become too honest, oh, that just goes sideways so easily. So I'm being a little opaque as far as Silicon Dojo is concerned. So I'm just kind of giving you around the edges of the way that I'm thinking about it. It does need to bring me money, or at least as part of the overarching things that I'm doing. It needs to bring me money. And then finally, like I say, that whole fulfillment component. Do you, at the end of the day, do you feel like your work was useful for your morals and ethics? I talk about this with the whole concept of being a truck driver, right? If you are pro-union, if you're anti-corporate America, and you think Walmart is killing small towns, then being a truck driver for Walmart is probably going to be soul-sucking. On the other hand, basically the same job. If you're a truck driver for the Red Cross and you're taking bottles of water down to hurricane victims, then that will be fulfilling to you. Look, I am using my skills as a truck driver to help people that are in need. More or less same job, only in one job you're moving you know, big screen TVs to Walmarts, so you know the United States can sell it sold to China or whatever else. And in the other job, you're trying to get water to people who need it. One of these is going to be soul-sucking, and one of these jobs is going to be fulfilling. So that's one of the things that you have to think about in balance too. Again, that's where I look at this from the educational standpoint. There have been a lot of viewers that have said, you know, Eli's got to get tired of Silicon Dojo, and he should just go off and get a job somewhere. Just get hired somewhere. And I wish I could. To be honest with you, I actually wish that was an option for me. But what I see is so many of the educational environments are soul-sucking, to put it lightly. I was a contractor for a company called CBT Nuggets. They do very good education. Don't get me wrong. I'm not snarking on their education. Go if you need to learn sysadmin or whatever. Go work for CBT Nuggets. And on the face of it, it seems really cool. You know, they have a knife. They literally have a knife throwing room. Everybody in the company has standing desks and these weird ball things to stand on. When you look at it from the outside, it's like, wow, this is a cool environment. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's a really fancy cube farm. It's a fancy cube farm with a knife throwing room. Just seems bad from a liability standpoint. And anyways, right? For me just to go into a cube farm day after day, again, that would be soul-sucking. Again, with I&E. I did some work for them for a while. I did the interviews and some other things. And one of the most interesting things was just to go into that environment. And they had a beautiful office and a beautiful location. And they got a snack bar and the whole 9 yards. But again, it's a cube farm. You get all the technology you want in your cube. I don't know what it is. Like, you get into those cube farms, it just saps all of my energy. Again, even when I think about going and, you know, getting a master's degree perchance so I can teach at a university, when I actually talk with university professors, what they're doing nowadays is, again, they are teaching information they don't care about to students that don't actually care about the information. The professors are doing it so that they get a paycheck, and the students are doing that so they get a certificate so that theoretically they can get a paycheck. Nobody actually cares about the material. Nobody actually cares about the information. Nobody is curious, poking things, right? They're just slogging along. The thought of, again, for me, doing that is just absolutely and utterly soul-sucking. So when I've looked at the possibility of jobs, Yeah, they just seem horrible. Horrible is a word. Horrible is the word. And so that's what I like with Silicon Dojo, is this is fulfilling to me when I have people being able to come in. Again, small classes, being able to communicate with people, being able to do relationships, being able to actually see as people understand the topics that I'm talking about. I've done these hands-on classes actually in the past. Again, I've done a lot of things over the years. I've done the hands-on classes in the past. And again, just simply seeing that light trigger as somebody who wants to know how to make an LED blink, figures out how to make an LED blink, and then they realize, oh my golly, if I made an LED blink, think about all the other things that I can do now, right? When you see that when I see that light turn on behind somebody's eyes, again, I am fulfilled by that. Not passionate. I'm not passionate about my students. And I do not have the liability to be passionate about my students, but I am fulfilled when I am able to help people understand the world in a bit of a different way. And so again, so that's what I'm looking at here. As far as Silicon Dojo, I'm pretty confident with it. Again, you know, as far as crowdfunding goes, crowdfunding we are currently in the black. We do still need money. Again, we do still need more stuff. That place is going to be more expensive, plus I need equipment. We still need more money. Do not think that I'm not saying we don't need any more money. Link down in the doobly-doo, donorbox.org/ETCG. But anyways, right now we're basically in the black from the crowdfunding. As we're able to go to the new place, I feel like I'm pretty confident I'll be able to sell the sponsorships when we go to the new place. I'll really be able to sell again when we go to the new place. Beyond that, one of the things that I'm doing is, I know this sounds counterintuitive, but after I gave up social media and news, I also created a Twitter account. The reason I did is Twitter is kind of like a modern email for a lot of the PR and the marketing people for companies. And so one of the things that I'm doing is every time that I do a project, every time that I'm working with a product, I'm now basically pinging, I'm adding or hashtagging the company and the products that I'm dealing with to try to get on their radar. And so having been in this world for over a decade, I feel pretty confident we should be able to get enough money coming in, especially once I really have a room, basically a block that I feel like I could sell. Again, one of the reasons I'm kind of jammed up now is this room is just so small. Again, you get 4 students, and me in here. It's a pretty decent little room. It's still small. 5 people in this room is still small, but it's okay. The problem is I've noticed, is when you get too many people in this room, it just becomes a sweatbox. It just sucks. And so I don't really want to advertise something that's gonna suck, right? It's just one of those things, right? So when you're thinking about going out there and selling a product, you want to be excited about selling the product. When you're going out there and you have this idea that if you get too many people showing up to your little office, that it's going to turn into a sweatbox, that kind of sucks, right? So that's one of the reasons, as far as advertising for the classes here in Asheville go, I really haven't been promoting them outside of Meetup because I don't want them to be too big. Having 2 or 3 people or 4 people here is a comfortable thing. Any more than that kind of sucks. So that's why we're hoping to move to the new location, and then once I've moved to the new location, then I will feel much more confident about really advertising. If I have 20 people show up to an 800 square foot room, that's completely a-okay with me. So those are some of the things I'm thinking about there. The final part of this, also, does it concern you that how to be a YouTuber had the highest interest as opposed to the more technical stuff? You know, I would be lying if I say it didn't a little bit. So I did the how to be a YouTuber that had 9 people show up versus the 3 or 4 people that have showed up for most of the other meetups. And so it is slightly concerning to me that was the most popular meetup that I've done so far, basically the most popular class that I've done here. The only thing though is, again, I'm not really advertising yet, and so I don't know I don't know how valid that result will be at the end of the day. So there's a university here, there's a community college here, there are some tech companies here. I haven't been advertising to basically any of those folks yet, again, because the room is so damn small. And so one of the things is how to be a YouTuber. Again, when you think about clickbait, when you think about SEO, when you think about what people will show up to, that's kind of an easy one to sell. Everybody wants to be a YouTuber. I don't know why, it kind of sucks, to be honest with you. But anyways, everybody has this idea of wanting to be a YouTuber. Everybody has this idea of wanting to be a content creator. And so when you have a low barrier to entry, what people think is a low barrier to entry type of class about basically how to become a YouTuber, I think that's a pretty easy sell to get people in the door. And so, you know, I think with doing this, basically doing all of the advertisement on Meetup at this point, very little additional advertisement, I think it makes a lot of sense that that would be the one that a lot of people would come to. Again, you know, I wish more people came to computer vision, you know, easy computer vision with Azure and AWS, but that kind of makes sense. That's a higher barrier to entry. Again, the Twilio class last week, that's a higher barrier to entry. But I do feel once we're able to go to the new place, I'll feel more comfortable actually trying to advertise these things, trying to bring people in. Again, starting to do the lab time. One of the big components with Silicon Dojo is I want that open lab time. I want to be open however many hours per week. So basically people can come in. If they want to tune up their computer, I can look over their shoulder and I can help them tune up their computer. If they want to learn how to install Linux, I can help them learn how to install Linux. If they want to create some kind of cluster, I want to be able to help them be able to create that kind of cluster. I think once we start having that open lab environment, one thing will kind of, you know, meld with the other. So basically, like when I'm doing these classes, when I'm doing these seminars, if people are coming to the open lab, I see what problems they're running into. I think and do seminars based off of the problems that they're running into. That becomes synergistic. So yeah, that's some stuff I'm thinking about. And then the final point there with, you know, how to become a YouTuber had the highest interest. The other thing too with this is, again, I'm not overly dogmatic with what I'm teaching. I will be teaching Azure Cognitive Services because those are freaking phenomenal if you haven't looked into them. But with a lot of this other stuff, if people want dumbed down, I hate to say dumbed down, but if people want lower level classes, again, once you get to a certain age, it doesn't really matter, right? Again, like I like cognitive services is really cool, but does it really matter to me whether I'm teaching cognitive services or A+? Does it really matter to me at the end of the day whether I'm teaching software-defined networking or whether I'm just teaching the Net Plus? Does it really matter to me, again, you know, whether I'm doing this whole infrastructure as a service, you know, platforms and all that kind of thing, or I'm just teaching people Linux Plus so they can get a little stamp on the resume and hopefully get a job. Again, I've kind of, you know, I've been doing education now since 2009. So I've been doing YouTube since 2009. And again, one of the things you realize is as you get older, things just aren't as important as they used to be, right? Again, I will not teach A+. A+ is below me. I said it. I will admit it. I still think it's a waste of time for most people. But you know what? If a lot of people want it, okay. It's computers. It's computers, right? Talking about RAM, talking about processors, talking about graphics cards. Is it the bee's knees? Is that going to get you a $100,000 a year job? No. But you know what? If all these people want that type of class, screw it. Fine, whatever. I'll teach you that. So, you know, that's one of the things to be thinking about with this is, again, where are your boundaries? Like, what do you want to do? What do you refuse to do? What will still make you fulfilled? And again, what might get you to where you're going, right? If I have to teach people A+, if I can get people to come and learn A+, and then a few people actually stick around and learn the higher level subjects, well, then I've just built myself my own customer base, right? So, I don't know. Those are some things to ponder with that. So, I hope that made sense. Again, being a little opaque about the business of Silicon Dojo. Truly not because I want to, just because, have I told you about people? Humans, they're the weirdest creatures. You explain to them how the world actually works, and they get mad. You explain to them how you make money relatively easily, and how they can too. Not as a get-rich scheme, not as a multi-level marketing gimmick, but you just sit there and you explain, look, coders make this much per hour. You can learn to be a coder in a year. And all of a sudden, you're an a-hole. How dare you? Eli, I can't believe that you're actually going to try to profit off of providing free to the end user hands-on education. The fact that you're going to try to make money by making people's lives better, that just shows you what the satanic Nazi you really are, Eli. Like, what? I want to make money by making people's lives better. Why does that make me evil? What has happened with our society? So anyways, hopes this all makes a little bit of sense. And think about the money, think about the viability, not just about the viability for today, but again, what happens if you find the love of your life next week? Again, when I met my wife, literally from our first date, we were basically living with each other after 3 days, and we officially moved in together after 3 weeks. No lie. It was just one of those. It's one of those things in life that just seemed right. Like before that, all of my relationships had been stupid. Stupid is a term. Stupid is a family-friendly way of saying it. Oh my golly. Women thought I was great. Till they learned about all those Aspie quirks. I'm one of those people that I look good on paper. Not necessarily great in relationships. Anyways, right? So both my wife and I had horrible, like, not horrible as in whatever, but just like idiotic relationship is the best way to put it. But then we met, and within 3 days, we were de facto living together. And within 3 weeks, we were officially living together. And we've been together ever since, so 16 years or whatever at this point, right? And so one of the things to be thinking about with your business is, you know, okay, yay, you're making $20,000 a year now. That's all you need, because you're not a greedy bastard like Eli the computer guy is. But what happens when you meet the love of your life? What happens if you actually have kids with the love of your life? What happens if that whole pregnancy doesn't exactly go to plan? How's that $20,000 business doing for you? How viable is that now? And so that's one of the things that you have to be thinking about. And again, as far as a business is concerned, if you're going to create it, what are you going to be willing to do day after day after day? Again, like that's one of the big things when people talk about becoming YouTubers, right? Being a YouTuber is not about creating one video. It's not about creating 10 videos. It's creating hundreds or thousands of videos. When you look at the successful YouTubers, not necessarily me, the other ones, talk about thousands and thousands and thousands of videos, right? It's not about just doing a video. It's about being able to wake up, being able to figure out what topic you want to talk about, actually doing the topic, doing all the video editing, doing everything else. There's a lot that goes along with it. And so one of the questions you have to ask yourself is, are you going to be fulfilled with your business? When you wake up in the morning, again, not passion, not that garbage. Are you going to be fulfilled? Are you going to be excited? Is there going to be a little excitement in your step as you go to work in the morning because you're interested in something that you're going to do that day? Are you going to go into a culture that you've created that you are going to enjoy being around the people that you're around? And then at the end of the day, can you sit there and go, wow, I am a little bit better than I was at the beginning of the day, and I feel like I made the world a little bit better by helping a few people out. Right? That's fulfillment. And that's a question that you're going to have to ask for your business. I'm hopeful for Silicon Dojo, but you know, I've been on this ride before. I've been on this ride. I remember sure things that cost me lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of money. And then I remember idiotic things that made me lots of money. That's the whole thing with business. How to work out at the end of the day, who the hell knows? You just got to place your bet. It's like, you know, when you think about business, when you think about your career, it's kind of like, you know, the multiple choice test. They talk about with the SATs. Like, so we're going to take the SAT. One of the important things is that you answer the question, right? So you don't want to leave the question blank. So if they ask you something, if they ask you a question, you figure out the answers that are definitely wrong. So you don't select them. You figure out the answer that you don't think is right, so you don't select that. And then you kind of guess. On whatever's left. That one. That's kind of how business and life work. You're like, well, that's not going to work out. I don't think that's a recipe for success. So what am I left with? This thing. This thing. Do I think it's the right answer? Well, I know that one's the wrong answer. And I don't really think that one's the right answer. And so I'm left with this. So I'm just going to bet on this, and, you know, we're going to hand this off to the proctor. Hand this off to the spaghetti monster and see how the spaghetti monster scores my exam. Anyways, reality for you. So, there you go. If you want your question answered here at the Silicon Dojo, question and answer videos, put your question down below. Again, I do these question and answer videos, try to do them every day. So if you put one down there in the comment section, I should be able to answer it for you at some point. If you do want to support Silicon Dojo, again, Silicon Dojo does need funding. I need to be fed. I need to be fed. Yes, I'm the kind of greedy, satanic Nazi that needs to be fed. But I need to be fed. We need to buy more equipment. We need to buy some more desks. We're going to need to buy some more chairs. We need to pay for the rent over there. Anyways, if you think what I'm doing is valuable to you, then think about throwing some dollars into the DonorBox account. So donorbox.org/ETCG. The link is down in the doobly-doo, the description area. Think about that. If you want to come to the meetups that we're having, basically these education seminars, tomorrow we're doing how to be a tech professional. So I actually walk through the steps of how you become a technology professional, how to be successful in the career field. You go to Meetup, or you go to silicondojo.com. On the right-hand side, there's a link for the meetups. You go to the meetups, you sign up for a meetup there. If you want a one-on-one consultation, so I've done many one-on-one consultations with people, again, how to figure out what to do with their careers, how to figure out what to do with their businesses, different products, those kinds of things. If you go to silicondojo.com, again, on the right-hand side, you click the link, and we can have a one-on-one conversation if you come here. And yeah, and that's about it. So with that, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna smoke some crack, I think. I'm gonna get over my social media and my news addiction. But I think smoking some crack. That's what they say. That's what the professionals say. Is in order to get over one addiction, sometimes you just have to get a little bit addicted to something else. So when I'm looking at it, I don't think cigarettes are addictive enough for me to get over social media. I think I might be smoking cigarettes as I watch Nerdrotic. So that's not going to work. So I'm just going to go get blasted out of my mind on crack, and you know, I do that for a few days, and I feel that'll clean all of the social media and all of the news sites out of me, and then I'll just have to deal with a crack addiction, which should be simple. That should be so simple compared to social media. And it all sounds like a joke, but we all know it's true. Anyways, with that, see you all in the next video, and hopefully sometime here in Asheville, North Carolina.